I'm not insane!
We're getting demonetized in here.
Alright, you're good.
Alright. Welcome to another episode of the Campfire Thoughts. I am your host, Adrian, and today at the Campfire we have a very special murder mystery episode with special guests RFSDan and Crystal. How you guys doing?
Good. It was right before we started. We were all just having this big long conversation and it was all hyper, and then all of a sudden you flicked on some smooth jazz button. Didn't, right?
It's like the opposite of when Dantic starts and you turn it on and hype up.
All of a sudden,
hype down.
I envisioned you in a robe with your legs crossed but no pants on and a pipe in your hand. It got
some candles lit.
Yeah, some candles lit. It got real smooth real quick.
I try to go for that True TV or that E! Entertainment horror stories and murder podcasts, but they're just hello and welcome to the podcast. Today we're discussing death.
I'm taking the vibe.
Okay, so library voices.
You don't have to keep the library voice. That's just the intro.
Dan doesn't have a library voice.
I'm not loud. I'm not a yeller though. So
no,
okay.
but you don't have a chill voice.
You do have always high energy.
Yes.
I love that about you.
I have to. When you clock in, you have to be ready to go.
Oh yeah, definitely. So today's podcast, we're going to be going over something that just came in the news very recently. We're going to be talking about Joseph James DeAngelo Jr. Do either of you know who Joseph James is?
Was he a boxer?
No, he was not.
Okay.
I am very familiar with Joseph DeAngelo. I know all about him, but I'm very excited to talk about it.
Oh yeah, he's known by very many names. He's known as the Visalia Ransacker. He's known as the East Area Rapist. He is also known as the East Sacramento Killer. And I've heard he's also called the Golden State Killer, but there's not a lot of mention of him being the Golden State Killer.
I think you missed one too. I think he was the original Night Stalker as well.
Yes, between him and the other Night Stalker, what was his name? Richard Rodriguez?
Ramirez.
Richard Ramirez ended up losing that throne after they found out that Joseph was doing it 20 years before Ramirez.
Yes.
OG.
The original Night Stalker.
Yeah.
So, did you guys see on August 20th that Joseph has finally been convicted and has been sentenced?
Yes. The sentence was not a surprise. I feel like we knew it was coming, but I feel like it was a big relief to a lot of people.
I honestly thought, reading into this, because I've heard a couple of podcasts on this before, I was surprised he didn't get the death sentence. Instead, he got life in prison.
I think there was a plea deal involved, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure.
He had to tell about all the crimes that he convicted, and then they were like, all right, you don't have to die.
I think it was something like that. I might be mistaken on that, but I think it was something like that. And he certainly did not divulge all the crimes, because I know there are still a lot of people that they suspect him of the crimes, but he did not admit to anything that they didn't come at him with.
Yes, and for Dan's sake, because he doesn't know much about this, he was convicted of 13 murders, 50 sexual assault crimes, which is kind of rising by the day, and 120 burglaries between the years of 1973 and 1986.
Yeah, that's a lot. Crystal, who's watched more murder hours than I've ever seen anybody on the planet watch. I mean, you have a master's degree in murder TV.
Yeah, I should probably be doing something as a career in this field.
Yeah, so when they announced that they found this dude, it was almost like Crystal's Super Bowl.
I was super excited.
Was crazy.
I had heard about this before he was caught, and I read, I don't know if you're going to bring this up at all, Adrian, but I had read Michelle McNamara's book before he was caught, and I had finished it a few months beforehand, and there was all that suspense of who is it. And then I got up one morning before work, and I'm, swiping through Facebook or whatever social media, and they announced that he was caught. And I think I came in the house and was like, oh my God, they caught him. And you didn't know who I was talking about.
I didn't.
And you're like, what? Like, the book I read, the guy that did the things, and they caught him.
He did the thing. Dan, he did the thing.
He did the thing. So since then, it's been everybody's, champion of murderinos and people getting caught with murder. So she's been watching stuff. 2 nights ago.
No, last night. I just started on HBO I don't know the title of it, but it's based on Michelle McNamara's book. I think it's called I'll Be Gone in the Dark because it's based on her book, the 6-part series on it.
So that was playing. It was hosted by Patton Oswalt, so it sounded like a bad episode of the Goldbergs in the kitchen. I'm like, what is going on over there? So Crystal's very familiar with this, and I catch bits and pieces.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane just looking into it and seeing his history and how his methods that he used. I can't personally believe, and I was in the Aurora theater shooting, I can't personally believe a person would go all the way through with this and do all these twisted and demented things.
The range of the crimes, I know there's escalation. I know that people don't start with murder generally. They start with smaller crimes and work their way up. But the range and the amount of time he spent doing different kinds of crimes before he would escalate to the next kind, and the range of locations, and this guy made this his life's work. It's insane. And got away with it forever.
Until he was 70.
Right?
70.
Is there not a statute of limitations on murder?
Not on murder.
Not on murder. There is on burglary, though.
And I think in some states they've repealed it on rape, but rape had a statute of limitations as well.
Okay.
And that's some part of the reason why he didn't get convicted for some of these rapes.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, Joseph was born November 8th, 1943. He was born to Joseph James DeAngelo Sr., who was a U.S. Army sergeant, and Louise DeGros. He had 2 sisters and a younger brother, and there's a whole conspiracy on why he's so deranged due to the fact that when he was 9, he witnessed an air marshal that worked directly under his father raping one of his sisters.
Jeez. Yeah, that'll set you up for not good things later in life.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. He attended school. He ended up dropping out. He got his GED and immediately enlisted into the U.S. Navy, serving in the Vietnam War.
Dang.
Again, more fuel for later crazy.
That's a long time ago. Yeah, because going to war, that'll mess you up. And especially if you're already messed up, it's just going to concrete that.
Yes.
After attending the Navy, he decided to leave after 2 years of service and enrolled into Sierra College, trying to graduate with his associates in police science. He tried to then get engaged to Bonnie Jean Caldwell, and which later on in the year said that he was absolutely deranged and decided to divorce him before getting married. So he just put it to the books, went straight into criminal sciences, and ended up enrolling into the Roseville Police Department.
Wow, and getting your degree in, what is it? Science?
Police sciences.
Why? How do you get into that?
It's not uncommon for criminals to be involved in trying to get a career in some sort of
I watched Dexter.
Police work. Yeah, there you go.
Based on a true story.
Exactly.
I watched Dexter, and it was just like that. So that makes sense. But right there, that's another red flag. When they did a background check on you when you're trying to take these classes, well, I guess they don't do that. They should, because it's dude, you're crazy, and you're probably crazy from the war, and now you want to learn things to help you be more crazy? Yeah,
that, or he was just, they saw it as, oh, you were in the Vietnam War, you were a marshal in the war. Okay, we're gonna give you this chance. Go ahead and be a police officer. You know how to decide whether you need to kill, arrest, or subdue. And they were like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess back then times were a little bit different.
Right.
Yeah.
So between 1973 1976, he was in the burglary unit in Exeter and Auburn. And in August 1976 to July 1979, he was in Auburn and ended up getting forcefully removed from the force due to him shoplifting a hammer and dog repellent at a store.
Which is one of the craziest parts of this story, that wasn't a big enough red flag for anybody to catch, like, hey, something's going on, because crimes were already happening around that time.
Indeed.
Yeah, somebody should have connected some dots, but nobody did.
Right?
There wasn't like a solid evidence fact for it, too. He
Right.
knew what he was doing, so this way he didn't want to, like, cause any commotion or any attention towards himself.
Right.
You gotta order those scenes online, man.
It was the 70s.
Right,
It's
right.
not a thing.
You gotta order those scenes out of the back of the magazine, man.
So, 1973 May to December 1975, they were experiencing a lot of different random burglaries and one murder. So, in a 20-month period, a series of 120 burglaries were committed, but nothing was actually really taken. The only things that were taken were women's undergarments, coins, personal items, and possessions. He would leave behind banknotes, electronics, private data. He would leave all the big things, but take these smaller things just to make sure he wasn't getting caught.
Which, again, is really creepy. Like, there's something else going on psychologically. He's not going in to try to benefit financially in any way. You know, not that I would do it, but I get burglary and robbery for the benefit of something you can sell or obtain, but just to, like, take underwear and not take anything of any value, that's creepy.
Yeah, exactly. I can understand if, like, someone's homeless and they go from house to house burglarizing. They're trying to find things for them to live off of.
Right.
Like, I did a podcast on the Denver Spider-Man, which was a guy who broke into an elderly man's house. He lived in his attic and ended up killing him, but would stay in his attic just scavenging for food and using it as a place to stay.
That's creepy.
That is actually a better origin story than Spider-Man. Really. Come on, Stan. You couldn't have come up with something like that instead of just, I don't know, a spider bite, Excelsior. Yeah.
So in this time period, the chief of police had no evidence, and when they caught him, the statute of limitations did not allow him to be arrested. Since he was caught in 2018, this is 10 years past when this is or more than 10 years past, so they had to drop all those charges.
Right.
Dang.
But they named the ransacker the Visalia ransacker, because that's where he was doing it, in the county of Visalia.
Which, that's way up north, right?
Yes.
That's okay. Yeah, we're down in the SoCal
Yeah,
area.
I think most of his stuff was more Northern California.
Okay.
Yeah, more towards Sacramento.
Yeah.
So, now we move on to June of 1976 to 1979, where the East Area Rapist was on the verge.
That's also up north, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So these areas, they ended up including a little bit of vandalism, but the big thing was rape. It was around the areas of Carmichael, Citrus Heights, Rancho Cordova, and East Sacramento.
Okay.
So the twisted part is now here. He went from going into people's houses, taking things from them, and just scattering and destroying things, to now personally stalking people. He would plan out wherever he was to go and find people that were in middle class. He would single out women that either lived alone or they lived with children in a one-story home. And what he would do is he would watch them through fences and windows. He would plan out their schedules, even calling them to see what they did during the day. He would also unlock windows, break into the homes beforehand, unload guns, and find items that he can use later on to attack these victims.
Yes, and I've heard he would stash them around the house so he knew where they were.
That's
Exactly.
a lot of work. Like,
Yes.
I'm listening to the job description, and I'm going
You're
like,
not applying?
I can't do this.
Too much legwork.
Too much legwork, keeping track of stuff, schedule making. You know, you
Keeping track of someone else's schedule.
You have a planner. There's not even Excel. Excel wasn't even made.
No
back then.
spreadsheets.
No, it's like on your hand. No, that's too much work for me. I'll stick to like farmersonly.com or something like that. You know? So,
It was all, he had composition notebooks, he had magnifying glasses.
Wow.
Even like 8-tracks that he would use to scare women and play over the phone.
Yes.
Damn, phone
Creepy
calls
songs. He'd slow down.
I've heard some of the calls, and it's creepy.
Yeah?
It's really creepy. Yeah.
Can you give me a sample?
No,
let's.
I'm not creepy like that. Do you have a soundbite, Adrian?
I don't have a soundbite, unfortunately, but I do have records of calls.
Okay.
So March 1977, he calls the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office, and he goes, "I am the East Side Rapist, and I have my next victim ready, already stocked. You guys cannot catch me." And he did that 3 times between the time of 4:15 to 5 p.m.
Hello, Sydney.
He calls again December 2nd. "You're never gonna catch me. East Area Rapist, you dumb fuckers. I'm gonna fuck again tonight. Be careful."
He's ramping up.
And there's a list of them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Between 1977 to 2001.
And this was all calls to the police?
Various. Some of them are the Sacramento police. Some of them are Rancho Cordova police. The final call was actually to the Sacramento Bee.
Okay, a newspaper?
And at that point in time, he calls himself the original Night Stalker instead of the East Area Rapist.
Right.
It must have been fun to call those calls. You call, you pick up the phone, and it's all like, "Operator, could you put me in? Could you put me in contact with the police, please? May I ask who's calling? It's East George Glass. It's George Glass." You gotta wait for them to answer the phone. It's the sergeant here. Oogity boogity bye. It must have been a big waiting period before he got on the phone with somebody.
I mean, I think a lot of calls weren't going through because he just kept calling back in. "The operator, put me in."
It's the guy again. Patch him through.
And what's really scary about this is they're getting these calls constantly, and they only have 3 recordings.
That's crazy.
Yeah, you'd think they'd have more. Well, I don't know what was going on in the recording back then. That might have been a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't like today where you could just open the app on your phone and record your phone call.
Right.
Exactly.
The ones that I've heard is after he's raped somebody and then he would call them. Like, he's not just done after that. He wants to terrorize them afterwards and call them. And I can't remember what he would say, but it was creepy stuff.
See, I never hear about anybody following up.
Oh, yeah, he followed up.
Oh, okay. So
he wanted to call back to see if he got the job.
He was thorough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, well, there was one here where he calls one of the victims who ended up recording it. He calls asking for Ray. So then they decided to hang up. He gets called again later in the night, and they record it, and he just says, "Gonna kill you,
yes.
Gonna kill you."
Yes, it was like some Freddy Krueger song sounding stuff.
They ended up going through and finding out his true methods that he would use. Once he would pick a victim, he'd find their schedule, and then break into their house in the middle of the night, normally by like unlocking a window, a door during the day while the victim was gone, and going up to them in the midst of the nights. All his crimes would happen between the hours of 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. So he was a very methodical person, and would go in with a flashlight and a gun, wake up the victim, bound them with shoelaces, gag them with a strip of clothing, and then do unseen things to them. He would take them sometimes into the living room and just go at them for hours, even taking breaks to go and like eat or drink beer or do drugs and rob the place before he would leave.
Which is so creepy that, like, as if being raped wasn't bad enough, but to be like bound and hear him going through your refrigerator and like eating your lunch for tomorrow and then coming back. So awful.
In this scenario, you've made your lunch the night before?
Yeah, my lunch is ready for tomorrow, and he's in there eating my leftovers.
Okay. Did it say what kind of drugs he was on? Is he just like a pot smoker, or is this dude like on like hallucinogenics?
Opiates.
Okay.
Which is what I read. Pills. He was a big coke fiend. He loved his amphetamines.
Of course.
Blah blah blah. He would do the occasional reefer, but it wasn't that wasn't a big thing, because normally you can find ash of marijuana just located throughout the house, even when you're just smoking, but they wouldn't find a lot of ash. They would normally find like cigarette butts or powder residue that's left on like counters and cabinets.
Oh, gotcha.
And if the person had drugs or any pharmaceutical, he would take the whole bottle.
Right.
Before leaving.
Oh, so they were his now. Like, so he's doing whatever he can get his hands on.
Exactly.
Okay.
This ended up escalating, and after he did, it said about 20 victims, he started targeting couples.
Like
So-
male and female, like he's getting brave now?
Yeah, he would go into houses where there was men at
Trying
home,
to
not
pick on
just
the dudes
women
too?
at home by themselves.
Okay.
Yes. And what he would do is he would tie up the significant other first, and then place a stack of plates on top of them.
Ah, yes, this guy.
Yeah, you remember hearing that detail?
So if they were to move, he would tell them, make a move and I'll kill your whole family. So he wasn't just targeting couples, he was targeting whole families. And when there was a whole family, he would take the woman of the family, bring them into the living room, have them bound themselves, make sure they're tight, and then do things just in the living room of their home.
Right.
Dang. Stacking plates is crazy, because that's not... Why doesn't he have, like, the stacker of plates? Like, you guys had all these names from the beginning, but what about his ability
call him
to
the plate stacker?
stack? Because that's not easy to do. First, it's not easy because you don't know the other person, and you have to, hope that they have good balance. So you start stacking these plates on them, and you don't want them to fall, but you need to stack them, soundly in the first place. Otherwise, it's...
Right, I feel like just breathing would be enough to knock the plates off. I don't hold still very well.
I'd be afraid that I'd end up walking to a house where I put the plates on the dude. He's all like, haha, it's me, Pierre from the circus. And he's like spinning the plates. And then
he pulls his shirt off out from underneath the plates.
Right. And next thing you know, I'm in trouble. So, but yeah.
He just has them juggle plates and he's like, I swear to God, you drop one of those.
Right? But yeah, he should be stacker of plates too. That's important.
That's the skill you want to recognize for?
I can't do it. You try it. Let's do it right now. Take the plates out of the
stack some plates on your back,
and we'll see how many I can get.
Hold still for the rest of the podcast.
Hey, the name The Fine China Murderer does sound pretty catchy.
Right? Yes.
It's got a certain ring to it.
I'm sending you a bill for that as he runs out the door. Okay.
So, Joseph gets a little bit sloppy. Okay, so he's doing this attack out in Rancho Cordova, and as he's leaving the house, they hear the woman screaming from the inside. So, a man named Brian Maggiorio and his wife, Katie, were outside walking their dogs when they caught him exiting the house with barely any clothing. So Brian is a military policeman for the Mather Air Force Base and started chasing after him. Once he realized he was chasing him, Joseph turns around and shoots him and his wife and both of their dogs.
Like shoots
just in
dead?
the middle of the street.
So this dude's like just got a sock on, but he still has a gun in his hand.
Yes.
Gotcha.
I mean,
okay.
He's carrying his clothes in one hand, he's got his weapon in the other, and he gets caught, and he's like, oh, don't follow me. And this guy goes to try tackling him, and he just pops him straight in the head.
Oh, wow.
Not cool.
Right.
Yeah, because up until then, this dude's not murdering people, right?
Yeah, I don't think he had murdered anybody up until that point.
Okay, so that was
he was just ransacking and raping.
Gotcha.
So these were his first two initial victims, which they didn't end up like associating the DNA. A lot of these crimes have been associated to him due to DNA samples that they find throughout the household and even in the victims.
Yeah,
and that was a lot of it too. He moved around so much that a lot of the different departments didn't communicate with each other, especially back then.
Yeah.
So they didn't connect crimes and stuff. And once DNA started being a thing, that's when they started being able to connect a lot of these.
All right. They just didn't have DNA testing back then. Is that what it was?
Yeah, and even when they first started having it, what was that, like the 80s or something maybe? It wasn't anything like what it is now.
Gotcha.
It would have to be like fresh right then and there. Nowadays, someone can be dead for 30 days and they can take samples from the body and link it to someone from years ago.
Yeah, and it can be touch DNA. They don't have to have like bodily fluids necessarily now.
It can even be One of the crimes, they associated it with paint chips that were found throughout the house.
Oh, yeah?
Because it said later on in his crime spree, there is no actual record of it, but it said that he was a painter for a construction company at one point in time.
Right. Huh.
And that was towards the end when he got real sloppy.
Right.
So now we're at 1979. They now have a new person, the original Night Stalker. So he moves to Southern California in Goleta. There's no records of him actually using his name there, yet there are records of anonymous names being put throughout random hotels and random apartments.
Well, did it say why he moved down here? It's just like, oh, I need a fresh start.
He was probably getting scared that he was about to get caught.
Right, okay. Yeah, so...
You strike pigs in one location, the pigs are going to end up realizing this location is a place for murder, so the pigs are going to leave and they're going to go somewhere else. He decided to follow the pigs.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So this is the part of the story where he starts to absolutely lose it. He starts actually going out and tries to kill people. There was only 2 people that actually survived the attack. And July 17th, 1979, he went into a house in Goleta and attempted to kill both the husband and wife. The husband started screaming, or the wife started screaming, so he tries to stab the husband and ends up jumping out the window. From the woman screaming in the house, it alarmed a neighbor who was an FBI agent. So he starts pursuing the attacker, and he gets away on a bicycle. He finds the bicycle and the knife that he tried using on these 2 people who did not give their names, and ended up leaving with no evidence, no trace or anything.
I don't get that. Like, you saw that the gun was very effective last time you killed. Why did you downgrade to the knife? Like, why wouldn't you keep using the thing that's not let you down yet, the gun? Like, because...
Around this time period, they started serializing bullets.
Oh, there's that, I guess. But still, like, if you and I are going to get into a knife fight, it's going to be a struggle. Where a gunfight, it could be, like, one and done.
Right.
Especially with an FBI agent.
I know. And then what did he get this bike to get away from? I imagine it being a scene from E.T. where him and
the kid's bike from the front porch
with a basket on the front of it and the knife's riding in it, and off he goes into the night.
And he gets so far away, he just kicks it and just starts running.
Yep.
It's like, dang it, I didn't get over the moon. I guess I just gotta ditch it.
Yep. Yeah, I would just stick to the gun, bro.
So he doesn't do anything until December 30th. December 30th, they find Robert Offerman and Deborah Manning found in Offerman's condominium with bullet shots in the head. They were... they found Robert Offerman's bindings still laying on him because it seemed as if he tried to remove them himself. He pulled himself out from the bindings and tried to defend the attacker. They found in the blood prints, or the blood that was surrounding the 2, a large dog footprint, but nothing else except for the bindings.
What does that mean?
It means that for some reason he had a dog just with him for some reason.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, wait, what the heck is that? Hold on. My 2 nephews were over earlier in the day, and I guess they were setting timers.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. That's a fun
So
trick.
my Google's just in the back going... Bloop, 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 bloop.
They got you good.
God dang it.
So now it's a dude and a dog? Like, it's the dude and his sidekick?
The dude... Yeah, it's a dude and a dog. Yet there's no other, associations with this dog. All the other murders did not have a dog or a pet. No hair molecules, no skin molecules. There's no blood prints of anything. Normally, if you go into a household, you can see, in the carpet, the abrasion of a dog's footprint since they put all of their force into the ground.
Right.
Okay. Interesting.
But this is the only murder that actually included a dog, so they didn't want to associate it to all the Southern California murders that were happening.
Just because of that fact?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. That seems short-sighted.
doesn't it? So March 13, 1980, it's about 4 months after the last murder, you find Charlene and Lyman Smith dead in their Ventura household, bludgeoned to death.
So that's 3 since he's been down to LA.
Yes. And they find Charlene, of course, to be raped and bounded still. And what really stood out between this one is the suspect had used a Chinese and a diamond knot to restrain the couple, which were the exact same knots that were used for the East Side rapist.
Oh, that'll give it away.
Yeah, you gotta switch up those knots.
Yeah, those are unique.
Yeah, handcuffs, bro. Zip ties.
That's why they started calling him the Diamond Knot Killer, but only for a short amount of time.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think I remember that nickname.
But still, no, I'm still bummed. No plate stacker kill, like no plate stacker man. Like that's.
You can call him that.
Thanks.
I'll know who you're talking about.
All right.
I'll go ahead and name the episode that, the Plate Stacker Killer.
The plate stacker man.
Fine China Killer.
Yes.
Right. He killed China?
This couple was found bludgeoned to death, and they actually found the murder weapon, which was a log that was outside from their burn pile that was on the side of the house.
And that's what he used?
Huh.
Yes, a log.
Dang,
of all things. You know, he's gone from gun, he's gone to knife, and now he's got a log.
And that's the kind of thing that'll throw the cops off, too, because if you go with a weapon you intend to kill or hurt, using a log from somebody's fire is a weapon of opportunity, which will throw them off and make them think like, oh, it was just a crime of passion type of thing. It wasn't intended, it wasn't premeditated.
You know way too much about that. Wait a minute.
Little bit.
Wait a minute.
No, but she is correct. If you do use a certain type of weapon, they're going to associate yourself to that weapon, which would end up giving you another nickname. You know, if you use a Colt 45 to go and bludgeon people to death and shoot people to death, they're going to call you the Colt Killer.
Right.
So I gotta choose my weapon.
Yes. And if you bring your own weapon, it shows intent.
Oh, he's the BYOW killer. He's the bring your own weapon killer. Yeah.
He's super crafty.
Yes.
He MacGyvered his own weapon.
He just took a log.
So at this point in time, he realizes, seeing in the news, that he needs to start being careful. He's no longer going to leave any traces of it. So August 19th, 1980, he goes to Keith and Patrice Harrington's place out in Cockleshell Drive in Dana's Point, Nigel Shore's gated community.
Where's that at? That's way down.
Dana Point? I don't think that's too far from here.
Is that not too far from here?
No, probably within like a couple hours at most.
Ooh.
I think Dana Point is near Long Beach.
Okay,
Let's see.
yeah. So around 2 hours.
That sounds right.
2 hours, hour and a half during pandemic traffic. Since
right.
It's lighter. So
it's right next to Salt Creek Beach.
Okay, right on. Okay, yeah, about 90 minutes.
So at this point in time, you find Patrice and Keith both bludgeoned to death with no weapon, no bindings, no ties to anything with this murder. He's now trying to be very meticulous about who he's murdered and how he's doing about it. So this way there is no, there's nothing that they can tie him to.
Right.
Okay, so but when I get, there's qualifications for bludgeon though, right? Like in order for me to get bludgeoned, it has to be like.
Let's see what your idea of bludgeoning is.
My idea of bludgeoning is, the definition is when you're like thumped a bunch until like your insides come out with something that's like not intended for a weapon, like something that like doesn't like a brick or like a fan or like my computer, like my laptop. Like
okay,
if I
that's
beat you,
fair. I don't know that your insides need to come out for a bludgeoning.
well, just like it has to like I have to like ooze something. But
well,
like,
yeah, you would at least be bleeding.
It has
I would
to be
think.
with an object that wasn't intended for that purpose.
I don't think that's specific.
You're kind of on the right track. It's just like overkill.
Yeah.
Okay, but I can't do it with a knife. I need to do it with something more angry.
I don't bludgeon you if I hit you once. Even if it kills you, you haven't been bludgeoned today.
Can I be bludgeoned by a knife and a brick, or only by the brick?
Not with the pointy side of the knife. I can bludgeon you with the back end of the knife.
Okay.
So bludgeoning could be done with like the butt of a gun, the butt of a knife. You can even bludgeon someone with a bat. It's just like a overkill of something.
Okay.
It has to be like you saw them dead, but you still kept hitting.
Yeah.
Right. That's just thorough.
Yeah, and it's kind of sick. Ugh.
Yeah.
Bad. February 6, 1981, Manuela Whithump was found in her dead, and it was apparent that she was tied. She had lacerations to the wrists and to the feet, but this time she's also bludgeoned to death. There's no weapons, no binding items, nothing. July 27th.
He is changing it up.
Yep. 1981,
Sherry
Sherry Domingo and Gregory Sanchez are found in their homes in Telect Way housing in Goleta, a couple blocks from where the Offerman Manning condos, they were killed.
So he's hanging around that area. Dude, he's got to be more careful than that. But then it was the 80s, like, you know, like, I watched Chips on TV when I was a kid. Like, the police department, everything was just chill and lax.
They were kind of clumsy.
You were allowed to smoke indoors back then.
Doing a lot of coke since you're a police officer and going into the evidence
room.
Have
access.
Yeah, right.
So, with this one, he got very, very sloppy. He left traces of himself everywhere. He entered through a broken window in the bathroom, leaving a part of his clothing in the bathroom, and he even left a gardening tool. So, Gregory was shot in the cheek and also bludgeoned to death. So it's believed that he was tied up, got loose, and tried to attack Joseph, but once he tried attacking him, Joseph shot him in the cheek and then made sure that he finished the job.
See, escape artists. I'm telling you, nobody can get out of a diamond knot. But you know, if you're like a magician or something like that, or a David Blaine, you can get out. And I think that guy did.
Yeah, unfortunately, Sherry did not. She was, of course, raped, killed, and bound, but there was no bindings found. He untied the knots to make sure she was not going to be found.
I feel bad because like all I'm doing is sitting here making jokes of murder.
Oh, murder comedy podcasts are on the rise.
But it's hard
Don't worry
because
about
like
it.
she could not get out of the knot, and her name was Not. But like, how do I can't? I feel bad now. I feel bad. I'll just save that one.
I mean, you can laughing about this is good because there are a lot of people out there that are still trying to cope through this. I still try to laugh about jokes that happen about the theater shooting, so it's kind of a relief, especially since this guy has been captured and now has been sentenced to all these crimes.
Right.
Right.
And laughter is a way of coping with uncomfortable situations like crazy murderers.
He's famous in the murder community.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I know he's on your Rushmore, I'm sure.
Shut it.
Yeah, we should go over your murder
They're
Rushmore at the end.
Commemorate a statue in the Golden Gate Bridge just for him. No, it'd be a public statue so people can come up and deface it all the time, and they'll just wash it off.
No, there better be plates at his feet.
See, Dan has this idea that I like glorify and worship murderers. I'm more fascinated with the psychology of it. The fact that they caught on to the knots, so then he started taking the bindings. The psychology of that is amazing. Like, you knew this was a crime, you knew you could get caught and get in trouble, and you were just going about it, and then you're like, oh, I guess I should be careful for that thing.
I don't know.
But then left part of his clothing there, and, you know, stuff like that. So it's crazy.
I don't know. I think that you watch so much murder that I have screen burn on my big screen here of the people from CSI and Cold Case on the screen. So it's a lot. It's a lot. All right. Sorry.
And so the chief also started piecing some things together. With Gregory Sanchez, Gregory had supported Amendment 69, which was the amendment that was to put forth of using evidence in crime scenes to capture murderers. He donated $500,000 to the fund to make sure that they could start doing that, and he ended up dying a week later.
Well, the police chief?
No, Gregory Sanchez.
Oh, sorry,
the last
Gregory
murder.
Sanchez. Okay, so before that, they wouldn't use other evidence from other crimes to associate crimes together? They didn't have the chain?
This was, evidence from dead bodies.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
This is the point in time where they actually started using DNA evidence, and that's what that amendment went for, is using DNA evidence to try tracking murderers.
Right.
Which at the time was an invasion of privacy.
Oh, okay, I see.
And it's like, you're a murderer. You're not on TikTok. We don't have no privacy.
Right.
That's true.
So he continues on his way. May 4th, 86, Janelle Louise Cruz was found raped and murdered in an Irving home. And the father of Janelle, Janelle's family was all out in vacation in Mexico. So they find her about a week later after she's murdered. And what her father does is he reports the murderer, and he also reports that a pipe wrench was missing from his shed, which was said to be, the investigator said that was the murder weapon that was used on her since she was bludgeoned so severe.
Right. That's bad moves. You got to get your own weapons on your own time, bro. Like, seriously, you can't let nobody else see your weapons. For reasons like this.
And, like, it's weird that he went and, like, purposely grabbed this from the shed, brought it into the household, and then was just like, you know what? This is mine now.
Right. And it's almost more insulting. Like, to me, that adds another layer to the crime, especially, you said it was her dad's tool. Like,
yes.
Her dad has to feel a certain level of guilt of, like, that was my tool that was used to kill my kid. But, you know, that's... I feel like there's a psychology at play with that as well, in him grabbing the dad's tool to kill the daughter.
Yeah.
And then taking it with him.
I mean, think of her perspective. She's sitting there and she's about to die, and the last thing she sees is her own father's pipe wrench.
Right.
Right, that she could have possibly bought him for Father's Day.
Right. Or held for him, or, hey, pass me that, you know? It's
right.
Just, there's a whole level of psychology there that messes with my head.
And this is the one that made it very, very sloppy. He left paint chippings at the home. There was pieces of his own fabric that had construction paint on it scattered throughout the entire house.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
so they were able to use that evidence to DNA link him.
He is getting sloppy. But then, not in his defense, but on his side, he's seen so much death and murder and stuff that, like, he's got to be just more and more jacked up in his head.
And he's gotten away with it for so long, you have to just think, like, oh, I can do whatever I want.
Right, he's strutting around, 12-0 right now.
Right.
It's a good record.
So that was his final murder. That was the one case that actually convicted him and gotten put into jail in 2017.
Okay, and that was his last crime? So that
was his last crime.
One too many crimes.
Yes.
Yes, after this, he decides to get married. He has 2 kids. And while he's at his daughter's household with his grandchildren, the police come in and they take him into custody.
Dang, that's crazy. So he retires, hangs it up, just like any professional athlete. Just like, he's just done, he's run his course, time to settle down and have a fam now.
He was old by this point.
Yeah, but I don't know, like, did it ever say, like, what he did for a living or anything like that?
He was a cop for a while.
He was, like, police, stop. He was, like, one of those?
I don't think he was was he an actual cop? I don't recall, but he worked in that line of work.
He was a cop.
Was he?
During... what was it? The 70s, 73 through 76.
Okay. Right, and that's
he was
when he got fired for stealing the dog repellent or whatever.
Yes, okay.
The hammer.
The hammer. Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then he did something else, like construction or something, didn't he? Or I think
he was a truck worker.
That's right.
He worked as a commercial truck driver with a CDL for the Savers convenience store.
Right, and I remember that's one of the when they were theorizing, trying to figure out who he was, once they started kind of connecting all the crimes and stuff, that it had to be somebody who traveled around for work and somebody that, you know, they were near construction sites sometimes. And was it somebody that was traveling doing construction work because he was so spread out, so widespread across the state, you know, not only, you know, in the Northern California area, but then he started moving south and stuff. So that's when they started theorizing about what line of work he might have been in to be traveling that much.
And it was also someone that was only able to work during the nights because these would happen during the early parts of the morning.
Right.
So he wasn't working like full night shift, but he was probably working that second shift.
Right.
You know, the like 5 to 10 p.m.
Right. And it wasn't unusual for him to be out at night, and he could just be out a few hours longer, you know, and family and whatever wouldn't suspect anything.
So at this point in time, the FBI is trying to piece clues together. They, in 2016, they released information about him. They got together with America's Most Wanted. They were putting out rewards. He had a $50,000 reward on him just for information.
Right.
And they were like, that's a pretty good bounty for back in the day.
No, that was 2016.
Oh, 16?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah.
That's like an episode's worth of Bounty from Unsolved Mysteries.
That's all.
It's like that's a down payment on a car, or maybe just a car in general.
Right.
Right.
So FBI starts linking clues together. They find some things that are kind of out of the ordinary. In December 1977, there was a poem labeled "The Excitement's Crave" that was sent to the Sacramento Bee and also the news station KVIE. I'm not entirely sure what that station is.
And what year was that? We're like just a few years ago, right?
Yeah, this was
Okay.
He's into the modern stuff now.
Throughout this whole thing, does it ever talk about at all like how he was as a family man, like his wife and the kids, and like did they know? Did they not know? Was he weird?
No,
Did he
his kids had no idea.
He switched it off and was just normal dad
Yeah,
and just lived a
absolutely.
life. Do you think at some point he lets his guard down, or do you think this haunts him every day?
Well, during the initial murderers, when he did give a call while he was raping one of the women's to the police, and he said, "I fucking hate you, Bonnie,"
Yes.
which is his first wife that he tried to marry that she ended up leaving him.
Yes.
So I'm thinking that back in the 70s, he was a little bit off his knot and was a little crazy, but once he settled back down and got married again, he flipped the switch and was like, I need to be a good family man, but on the download, I need to be crazy.
Right. And I believe after they caught him, like, the neighbors were like, oh yeah, sometimes we hear him in his backyard yelling and stuff. Like, he was just like, everybody's got that angry dad neighbor that yells at their kids, and you're just like, whatever, that guy's kind of a jerk to his kids. But, his kids still are down for him. They're not like, cutting him off and, I don't talk to my dad stuff. Like, he wasn't that
He probably
bad.
resented him, but not fully resented him.
Right.
It didn't ever say he was abusive or anything, so he probably was just, an angry drunk that was outside screaming at the top of his lungs.
Right.
With a lot of stuff in his head from his past.
Yeah. All his PTSD.
Yes.
So, this poem that's sent to it is... I have the full poem here, The Excitement's Crave. It says, all those mortals surviving birth upon facing maturity take inventory of their worth to prevailing society. Choosing values becomes a task. Oneself must seek satisfaction. The selected route will unmask character when plans takes action. Accepting some work to perform at fixed pay, but promise for more, is a recognized social norm is faded, as is decorum seeking love. Achieving while others lifting should be cause for deserving fame. Leisure tempts, excitement seeking. What's right and expected seems tame. Jesse James has seen it all, and Son of Sam has an author. Others now feel temptation's call. Sacramento should make me an offer. To make a movie of my life that will pay for my planned exile. Just now, I'd like to add the wife of a mafia lord to my file. Your East Area rapist and deserving pest.
Huh.
Interesting. Well, they might make I'm sure they're going to make a movie.
Oh, there's been all kinds of specials on it. I feel like that's just dripping with ego. And just that sense of just ego. That's the best word I can think of
Yeah,
for
the guy's
it.
undefeated.
Right.
So,
Yeah, he's probably sitting there watching the news, because they did air this. They put it in the newspaper. They did put it on the news. They said if anybody has known to this poem, they would like some information. So he's probably sitting there on his couch drinking a Coors Light going, I wrote that. No one's going to find me.
I'm sitting on my couch drinking a Coors Light. Literally. What?
Did you write bad poetry full of your ego?
No, I skipped on poetry.
So, in the investigation, they found a car outside of Danville. And I'm not entirely sure where Danville is.
Do you know where Danville is, Dan?
Yeah, right here.
Oh, jeez.
Oh my gosh. I've never heard of Danville, California. If so, I'm on my way there.
I think it's Northern California.
Oh, okay. So way up
It's near Alamo, Diablo, Blackhawk.
Yeah, none of those ring a bell.
No. Those are all
Let's
car
see.
models.
Osago Forest, Lafayette. Oh, it's near Oakland.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, Northern
Okay, so that's way
California.
up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of Contra Costa County.
Okay.
So, in Danville, they find this car, and in the car, they find a testimony about the killer's 6th grade. Said, Matt is the word that reminds me of 6th grade. I hated the year. I wish I had known what was going on to be going during my 6th grade year. The last and the worst years of my elementary school. Mad is the word that remains in my head about my dreadful years as a 6th grader. My madness was one that was caused by disappointments that hurt me very much. Disappointments from my teachers, such as field trips that were planned, then canceled. My 6th grade teacher gave me a lot of disappointments, which made me very mad and made me built a state of hatred in my head. No one ever let me down that hard before, and I never hated anyone as much as I did. Disappointment wasn't the only reason that made me mad in my 6th grade class. Another was getting in trouble in school, especially talking. That's what really bugged me, was writing sentences. Those awful sentences that my teacher made me write for hours and hours. I'd sit and write 50, 100, 150 sentences a day and night. I wrote these dreadful paragraphs, which embarrassed me more than important. It made me ashamed of myself, which in turn, deep down inside me, made me realize that writing sentences wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to make me suffer like that. It just wasn't fair to make me sit and write until my bones ached, until my hands felt ever horrid pain. It ever had, and ever as I wrote, I got madder and madder until I cried. I cried because I was ashamed. I cried because I was disgusted. I cried because I was mad. I cried myself. Kid who kept on having to write sentences, those dang sentences. My angriness from the 6th grade will scar my memory for life. I will be ashamed for my 6th grade year forever.
Yeah, I'd spent most of my 6th grade recess not playing with the kids on the playground, but writing sentences.
And do you think in 20, 30 years from now, you'll still be so mad about it? You'll be writing letters about it?
I never thought about it until right now, but I hadn't brought it up again. But no, I didn't. I would just try to write them in bulk and get in trouble for writing them in bulk. But I wrote my fair share of sentences.
I feel like you've got to be pretty messed up in the head to be holding on to 6th grade trauma that long.
Right. Where are these
Definitely.
letters being submitted to?
They found it in the car.
Okay, so that was just in the car. He didn't send this to a news outlet or anything like that. He deliberately just left it in the car.
Yeah, the first one he sent to the news, but the second one he decided to leave in the car for the Sacramento County Sheriff to find.
Gotcha. Okay.
So crazy.
Yeah, that's what keeps him awake at night.
6th grade?
Yeah.
All these crimes, these murders, these rapes he committed, and it's those 6th grade sentence writing and the mean teacher that he holds on to.
He always had to skip the intro of The Simpsons because he couldn't stand that scene where Bart's writing on the board every week. He's like, I get it, Bart.
Bart's been doing it for 30 years. I don't think he's still holding hatred.
Right?
Yeah, but Bart's also still in 6th grade.
Right.
It would be over 40 right now.
And if you were to see this last document, there's just numbers and numbers of typos and errors and things that he spelled incorrectly and just didn't make sense of. The reason why I kept stopping was I have to read this first to figure out what he's saying.
Yeah, even the grammar and the words he used was very oh, did your education stop at 6th grade?
Well, I mean, he got his GED.
He did get his GED, and that's what, in 2001, the FBI linked it to. 2001, they put the original Night Stalker, the East Area Rapist, all together in one thing. They were like, okay, these are all connected in some way. So 2016, with more further investigation and more notes that came in, they did a GED match to it. So okay, this level of education matches to someone that barely made it out.
Right.
Not saying those that get their GED aren't the smartest. I know a lot of people that did get their GED that did make it good. Albert Einstein had his GED, and he ended up being one of the smartest people that died.
Gosh,
Right.
How old are GEDs? Holy cow, I thought that was a newer thing. And also, this kind of tells me that no one person is responsible for cracking this case. You know who cracked this case? It was technology.
It was technology.
Technologies and databases and better resolution cameras and stuff like that.
The new age is now capturing killers that are from the 40s, the 50s, the 70s. This DNA linking and all this technology that they use to try to match people up with certain things are now actually coming to full circle and giving some type of relief to families with finding killers.
Right.
Right? Tweets. It's really gone full circle.
I mean, I'm sure if Twitter was around at the time, he would have been all over it, posting little hints, little glippets of what he was doing.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Hashtag stacker of plates.
With that kind of ego, he wouldn't have been able to keep it to himself if these types of public forums were available.
Is there? Well, actually, you would get away with it if it was, but every killer pretty much likes to announce that they're the killer.
Yeah.
Except for the good ones, then you just don't know, because then they don't announce, right?
Right, the Jack the Rippers, the...
If you were to murder Crystal, because, I mean, it's inevitable.
It's what?
Inevitable. It's going to happen. Do you need to make sure everybody knows?
No, absolutely not. That's not how you get away with it.
You have to be as quiet as you possibly can, but also being as public as you possibly can. If there's a modern day serial killer out there, they wouldn't be going on and, being completely silent on Facebook. They'd still be on there sharing memes about Taco Bell getting rid of the quesarito, but still out there doing their things.
Yeah, part of the psychopathy and the sociopath, you, know how to act normal.
Right, but you still have to have a calling card, like the Wet Bandits in Home Alone. Like, they had the whole water thing going for them, and that thing worked out really well until Harry said something, and snitched. But,
right.
You do have to have a calling card, so...
We're going to be the Sticky Bandits. Put tape on my hand.
Oh, man, what would my calling card be? I'll have to think about that.
The Dan killer.
The bright red hairs you'd leave behind on the kitchen sink. And the bathroom sink the shower.
I saw on Amazon you can order mohawk wigs. I'll just put one on every victim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be the mohawk killer?
Yes. Yeah. And I would put their left hands into a thumbs up, like they gave me a thumbs up.
I think they would end up calling you like the Sonic killer, the Sonic the Hedgehog killer.
Yes.
Be like, oh, there was a guy here last night with a really bright colored mohawk that was standing perfectly straight up, and they would find the fibers of your wigs just kind of like hidden throughout everywhere.
I'd be the lazy stalker. His catchphrase, meh. Meh. Take it or leave it. Maybe
why are you doing this to me?
Not today. You know what, babe? I'll come back.
You'd put the plates on the back, and then you'd be bored with it, and you'd leave.
Wrestling's on.
Man, I'm gonna have to put these away when I'm done.
Right.
I'm out of here.
Wrestling's on. I'll come back.
So they finally connected every bit of DNA to it. They connected it to Ventura. They connected it in Orange County, in Contra Costa. They ended up connecting the individual murders, the Smith, the Harrington, the Whithun, the Cruz murder. They all linked together with this DNA evidence that was from semen and also from random paint chippings.
Yeah, that paint chipping thing is something that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
dude, and where do these come from? Like, I've painted stuff before, and I'm not running around flaking chips off like it's the 60s.
And like I said, he got messy. He went and did his job as a painter, would not change his clothing, and just continue on with what he's doing.
Let this
Just
be a
hanging out in
lesson.
his overalls.
Every job, even as a criminal, needs to have its own uniform. When you clock out from your painting job, you take off that uniform. You clock into your murdering job, you put on your murdering uniform.
Right. Did you send that out to the dry cleaners?
Right.
So there's even a couple of other murders that he's put suspect for. Great Galsby from Goleta. He was murdered in Mexico in 1982 before Janelle Cruz, but they eliminated him as a suspect. Paul Conifer Schneider, who was a high-ranking of the Aryan Brotherhood, who lived in Orange County. They thought that he was with them and Janelle Cruz, but the DNA tested him clear in 1990s. Joe Alsip, a friend of a business partner of Lyanne Smith, who he had killed earlier. He ended up confessing during a counseling session that he did kill him, so that ended up bumping him up another charge.
Oh, dang.
So,
I was racking up.
Originally, on April 24th, 2018, he admitted to 8 counts of first degree with special circumstances, and they were trying to get him with a death sentence. That was probably, Crystal's heyday when they found him, and she was like, "Oh my God, they found him! They found the guy!"
Yes, I remember being. It's weird to say I was excited.
You were excited. I couldn't tell. Like, it was really weird. Like, the only thing I can describe it as is like when somebody gives birth and they're like really super stoked about it. Like, you were like, you were
baby's
like,
here.
You were glowing.
Well, like I said, I had read Michelle McNamara's book, so she, if you don't know, was Patton Oswalt's wife, and she basically devoted her life to investigating this. And in reading her book, she like tried to track down evidence. At one point, she found some cufflinks that she thought were the cufflinks from a crime scene that were missing, and she bought them on eBay and was so excited, and brought them to the investigators, and it turned out that wasn't them. And just to get, I feel like the way she told the story, I got as invested in it as she was.
Right. Good storytelling.
And then there was
works.
no resolution at the end of the book. And then, she passed away. She didn't even get to finish her book. And, a writer, Billy Jensen, and an investigator and some other people helped to finish the book. But there was no resolution. And it was literally like 3 or 4 months after I finished it that he was caught. So it was still fresh in my mind of like, oh, all this stuff. And it was such an engaging book. And now here's the resolution. Here's the ending to the story. And it was exciting.
Okay, so she died before he got caught.
Yes. Yeah. She didn't even get to see him get caught. She didn't even get to finish her book about it.
It was even said in the story I was reading that after the book was published, he started stalking Patton Oswalt's house because he didn't know that she had passed.
Oh, really?
And Oswald said that he found traces of someone stalking outside of his household, so he ended up investing into household security to make sure that no one would try attacking him.
That's
so
nuts.
he was going to come out of retirement.
To get at the person who was investigating
at this
him?
point, it's been a lot of years have passed. A whole family's lifetime, getting married, having kids.
Yes, and I believe she's the one who started calling him the Golden State Killer because he had all these names and they had connected it but didn't make a cohesive name for all of these identities.
Let's say that it was him that was stalking Patton Oswalt. He came out of retirement for this, or do you think he was still doing this and nobody knows what was going on between those years, that he stopped killing, got married, had a family, and then when he came out of retirement...
I think the theory is that he stopped. I mean, the man was in his 70s when he got arrested, so, I mean...
I'm thinking that he was probably in his 50s and he realized that he can't keep up with the trends. He probably he's getting way too sloppy at this point.
Right.
There's fingers being pointed everywhere. So he's like, okay, maybe if I just lay low, everybody won't think it's me.
Right. And think about like being 50, 60 years old, climbing through windows, running from crime scenes. Like, it starts to get a little bit difficult.
Yeah, right.
I mean, look at the man now. He's not in the best shape.
No, he looks like Grandpa.
Right. Which he's definitely playing up in court, but he's still old.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely.
He tries. He pulls the whole sympathy card. He cries during the court cases. He's made apologies to victims as they're on the stand.
Pathetic apologies.
Yeah, Suge Knight did the same thing. Remember when he was in court? Suge was like, my heart, I gotta go.
Yeah, it's
okay.
That's
right.
Especially like old dudes will do that. They play it up like they're feeble. No, this dude was out in his backyard doing like construction projects before he got arrested.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. So he's in jail. He's in custody as of 2018. They finally convict him of it. In November 18, they had to drop a lot of the charges because they couldn't get him for rape. They couldn't get him for the burglaries because they exceeded the statute of limitations. But they could keep him on all 8 causes of murder.
And realistically, at the age he is, you don't have to get him for... There's some justice that the families will feel if he's convicted of the crimes against, them or their family members. But realistically, they've got enough crimes he's done. Like, before the sentencing, obviously, you had to be convinced he's not going to get out. He's not going to live long enough to get out no matter what he's sentenced to.
What do you do, though, when you know that you're going to already... They might not get you on this and this, but they're going to get you on this, and that's enough to put you away till you're in the grave. Do you then admit to everything and pretty much go on 2020 and CNN and talk to...
They tend not to.
Everybody and just blurt it all out there? Because what are you going to do to me? Like, I'm already at the end of my life cycle.
No.
I mean, look at Jeffrey Dahmer. He was caught when he was around in his 40s, early 50s, and at that point in time, he still stayed quiet. He was like, no, I'm not going to tell you anything. He said that... It said that he may have caused 70 to 80 different murders in Colorado, but has only admitted up to like 5.
Right.
Why? Like, don't you want to be recognized?
I feel like there's a certain... Again, it's the ego. There's a certain thing that they get off on. I know something you don't know. Like, I'm not going to admit to all of them. They hold on to it for leverage later. Maybe they want to transfer prisons. Maybe they want some sort of privilege, and they can use that. Oh, I'll tell you about this one other crime if I can get this. They do that a lot.
Okay, right. You gotta be smart.
Yeah, that's a piece of leverage to them.
That's what Charles Manson has done over the years. He's been, given hints at different crimes that he's committed, but never has actually admitted to any crimes that he's personally committed.
Right.
Just to make it so that he could be moved into a more secure place, moved to a different county, and it's kind of really twisted. But this guy, on the other hand, was like, yep, I did this, I did this, I did this, this is how I did it, this is what I used, this is where I stashed it, but you're never going to find it still.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's true, huh? Too many years.
So, March 4th, 2020, he was offered a plea. If the death penalty was taken off, he would admit to more crimes, which ended up coming to 13 different counts of first-degree murder.
Interesting. What would you guys do? Would you rather, say this happens to your parents or whatever, would you rather see the guy go and have the death penalty and be put to death, or would you rather him make a plea deal where he gives up more information so more families can get closure?
I have a hard time with the death penalty in cases where it's not cut and dry. This particular person, I don't feel like there's any doubt.
Right, he stacked plates.
Let's get rid of him. Why are we going to spend time and money and resources to keep him alive in jail and take care of him?
Because what if my family has a case where we can't figure out who it is and it could be this person? Can I get some closure too? Can I get a piece of the closure pie or not? Well, what do you think?
I think, I feel like this guy should be put to death for all the heinousness and the crimes, but I do see where you're coming from. It would be nice for certain families to get closure based off of what had happened, because I know that there's still families out there in California that are still looking for, the cause of why their family members are deceased.
Right. Okay.
And to be pretty convinced that he did it, but you don't have that evidence and he hasn't admitted to it, and just that hope that he could admit to it.
That's a hard one. So he took the plea deal?
Yeah.
He did take the plea deal. He admitted to 5 more crimes, and he ended up getting sentenced to life in prison August 20th, 2020.
I thought we did not have the death penalty in California.
Did they get rid of it again? I don't know. They're always going back and forth in different states with it.
Yeah, I don't know.
People are always going back and forth with whether they think it's humane or not humane.
Yes.
Let's see.
And to be fair, there are a lot of cases where, people are proven after the fact that, that didn't happen. Yeah, it is legal in California.
Oh, I see March 2019, further executions are halted by an official...
by Newsom. Yeah, Newsom put a halt to it, but it's still legal.
Well, is it or is it not?
It hasn't been made illegal, he just halted it.
Okay, so it's on pause for now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's legal, but there's probably still an ongoing vote on whether it's going to be a thing or not. And at this point in time, when he's first convicted in 2018, he was going to get the death penalty. He was put on the list, but then was ended up taken off the list since he took the plea deal.
Right.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm so snippy. Fires are getting crazy out here.
So one of my favorite details of this that you did not mention is one of the lead investigators on this was a guy named Paul Holes, who actually has his own podcast as well, that came out of all of this because he got fame from all of this through the My Favorite Murder podcast, because they kind of latched onto him.
What a name.
What?
Paul's.
Hashtag hot for holes, which totally became a thing.
Did it really?
Yeah, absolutely. He's a decent looking older man, and hashtag hot for holes totally caught on social media. Do
investigators do it for you? Like you want them to come home from work and
intelligence does it, so
listen to what.
No, I don't want to hear your murder stories. so Paul Holes was investigating this, and he was kind of taking the lead on the DNA side of things, and they had narrowed it down to a handful of people through the DNA, trying to figure out who it was, relatives and that sort of stuff. And he was actually set to retire. And the night before he retired, he sat outside DeAngelo's house and was just like, oh, should I just go knock on the door and just ask him? And he really wanted to. He was convinced that that's who this was, but they didn't have enough evidence, and he didn't want to scare him off. But he spent the night before his retirement outside DeAngelo's house because he was so convinced that's who it was. And then he retired, and then it turned out that's who it was, and they caught him and everything. And I just feel like that's an interesting little fact of,
What would you
of the
do?
story.
What? That's got to be a hard thing in your line of duty to not go up to the door.
That you're so convinced that's who this is, but like the smart part of you knows, like, even if it is him, you could totally screw this up by going up there because you're not going to arrest him.
Right.
You're just going to go confront him, and then what? Is he going to kill you?
Yeah.
Is he going to run?
Ding dong. Yeah, it was me.
Right, yeah, he's not
So
just going to
what
admit
of
it.
Right, because in Mike's case, he's from Staten Island.
Of course. Aren't all criminals?
Yeah, I'm actually finding that now. Paul Holes and Steve Kramer. Dang it, Kramer. They used the DNA profile from the Ventura County rape kit and personal genomes and matched it on a website called GED Match.
Yes.
That's so crazy.
And that became really controversial because that was, well, I don't know if it was the actual first, but it was definitely the first public crime that was, this guy was caught because of the DNA match. And there's been a lot of controversy about whether that's okay. Dan, you did a DNA test and you put your DNA out there on 23andMe. Is it okay for them to then use that to connect, your fifth cousin who committed a crime?
I'm not sure how that loophole is, but I did see that family members were getting mad that people that were donating their sperm and stuff anonymously were connecting with people that had the same DNA as them that turned out to be their kids on 23andMe later in life.
Right.
And some of them were like, I'm trying to contact this person, and this person's like, no, I gave this up anonymously. Like,
that's a little sketchy, but when it comes to crime,
well, here, what about the GED thing? What's this GED match? I have to get my thumbprint to get a GED now? Is that what it is?
No, the website is GEDmatch. That's
right.
There's
Okay.
Ancestry.com, there's 23andMe,
Gotcha.
there's whatever. It's GEDmatch is where they,
Right.
because if I'm not mistaken, that website had the loosest legalities as far as they were able to upload the DNA. It wasn't their DNA, but they were able to upload that DNA and be like, hey, tell us who's related to this person, so they could do the family tree
I feel
to
like
narrow
you
it down
talked
to
about this a
DeAngelo.
long time ago. You mentioned to me
Yeah,
about
like when it
something of like,
happened.
oops, this DNA thing got leaked to the site, and then
Yes.
boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
They had to be a little bit sneaky about it, and it's, other places are a little tighter on their rules of, you can put your DNA on there, but I can't take your DNA and put it on there and try to figure out who committed a crime.
I don't know the logistics about that, because if I committed a crime, then like I should be smart enough not to spit in the tube and send it off to 23andMe.
Right, but who's to say your cousin didn't do that?
Oh, that's right, because they did it through family members.
Yeah, they didn't find DeAngelo's DNA on there. They found family members' DNA and then did the math, and I believe they were looking at like him and either a cousin or a brother or somebody and trying to figure out it's one of these two, and then they look, now that they've narrowed it down, they're able to look at where they lived and what their jobs were and stuff like that to try to figure out which one's more likely to have been the
technology
person.
solving crimes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
By the time we're older, there's not going to be Matlock or CSI. You're going to be watching like Zeb, the robot detective, and it's just going to be this floating robot dude that just like judge, jury, and executions the whole show in just one half an hour, because this technology is getting out of control.
Right?
Yeah. So I guess don't donate if you're listening out there, criminals. Don't spin the tube instead of 23andMe if you don't want to get busted later down the road.
I'm all about it. Use my DNA to bust out my cousin. I don't care.
That's true, huh? I could have family members that are guilty, but they could use my spit. Solves crime.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean, with those types of matches, my brother wouldn't have been convicted of some stupid things that he was convicted of that ended up being dropped later on in life.
Right?
Yeah, okay. Right? Say it, don't spray it has a new meaning. Really.
This is all pre-corona time, so they were just taking spit off the street, just like, yeah, let's try doing a map.
Right? And I think even when they got his DNA, it was, when they went to go confirm it, it was just like something he threw away on his way into a store. It wasn't even...
Somebody followed him and watched it and grabbed it?
Yeah, I don't remember
They
if it was
followed him into
Paul
a
Holes.
restaurant.
Is that what it was, a restaurant?
Yeah, it was at one of the victims' place of work, which was a restaurant. Holes came up to the restaurant and was like going through the trash and ended up finding a piece of I think it was like a napkin that he used.
Right.
To go and convict him of it. But yet later on was like, I'm not sure if I should. I don't know if I actually want to go through with this.
Right.
That's crazy. That's got to keep that Holes dude up at night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now he feels vindicated and he's all popular and has a podcast and everything. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that Paul Holes followed him around for a while trying to get a DNA sample, but DeAngelo was really smart about it and wouldn't throw away like his drink or anything. He would take his stuff with him, so there was no public, he couldn't get anything from a public trash can, and that was the one time he slipped up and Holes jumped on it and got it.
Yeah, and his podcast is still up today. It's the Jensen and Holes Murder Squad.
Yes, Murder Squad. It's really good. They actually, what they do is bring cold cases, investigate the cold cases and try to do the crowdsourcing to get people, we're all into murder. We're all watching all these murder shows. We're sitting here right now talking about a murder. Let's talk about one that hasn't been solved and try to investigate. And they try to crowdsource the investigation.
How do we do that? How would us three right here Scooby-Doo mystery ourselves into crowdsourcing? What would we do?
I'm not really sure, but I do know.
Do we need somebody else to listen to it that might know something?
Yes, yeah, and that's exactly what they do. And there was actually one case that I know of for sure so far from their podcast that was solved because a listener knew something or investigated something, and somebody found some evidence that led to somebody being arrested.
So crazy. I'm telling you, this technology thing, bringing everybody together.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's just like, not To Catch a Predator, what's the America's Most Wanted.
Right.
That they had that host that went on, they would describe the crimes and they put a phone number up and be like, if you have any information, please contact us, because then they can start taking pieces of information that other people are saying either anonymously or they're actually telling people, and they're able to piece it together.
That's crowdsourcing
Totally.
1.0, and now
right.
people aren't really watching TV anymore, so we've switched over to let's do that through podcasts.
Okay. All right. I'm with that.
And especially how popular murder podcasts are.
Right.
Did you guys know that Holes is retired now, and he retired in Colorado Springs?
Yes, I did know
he's
that,
probably
actually.
making that fat podcast
I
cash.
follow him on Instagram, and I see his dog and his hikes and all.
Oh my gosh,
stuff.
hold on.
Yeah.
You should see
Hashtag
this
hot for
little
holes.
You should see this little girl movement, Adrian, that Crystal's doing right now on the couch. Like she's like a schoolgirl, her head's bobbing back and forth.
you.
She's doing that thing with her fingers.
I hate you.
What's up with that?
I hate you.
Is he your new hall pass? Is that
No, he's her whole pass.
Oh, yes. We've peaked. We've definitely peaked. But yeah, wow. Look
His
at
dogs
you.
are absolutely so cute, though.
Right? I get a kick out of him. I love, like you said, like, the investigation. Like, I respect that this is what he devoted his life to. He used some sort of new technology to solve this whole set of crimes, this whole range of crimes that had gone on for so long, and thought, like, let's do DNA.
Hold on a second. So you listen to his podcast, right?
Yeah.
So every time you're in the bedroom and I hear another guy's voice, is that really him? Every time? I'm being serious, is it?
No.
You sure? So I always hear this guy talking in the back room. It's gotta be his podcast. Oh, she's all blushing.
I mean, it probably is occasionally, probably not all the time.
Dude, she's blushing.
I hate you.
She's been caught.
Yeah. No DNA needed.
Aww.
What I find the most messed up about this is before his conviction in 2020, he offers an impact statement to the victims, and he says, "I've listened to all your statements, each one of them, and I'm truly sorry to everyone I've hurt. Thank you, Your Honor."
I mean, sometimes, my bad.
Why does he get to do an impact statement? Doesn't it usually go the other way around? Like, he disgusts me.
I was on a jury one time, and the victim, who was very guilty and apparently very guilty.
The victim or the criminal?
Excuse me, the criminal, did not get to give an impact statement.
No,
the victims did. Oh, and they did.
Right.
But the criminal guy, he did not give an impact statement.
Yeah, you need to shut up and listen to everybody talk about how you messed up their lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had to listen to them. Like, every victim did an impact statement, but
Right.
why does he get to say anything?
Yeah,
they did
and-
the same thing with James Holmes.
and
He
whatever-
almost came into the stand to go and do an impact statement, and the judge overruled it because the judge didn't want to hear anything.
No,
He did a horrendous crime, and no one wanted to hear from him, yet he still wanted to go onto the stand and say, "I'm sorry" to people.
It's that
you don't
ego
get to say
again.
sorry.
Whatever you have to say, whatever quote unquote apology you have, it's empty. It's words. It's only words. It means nothing. There's no depth behind it. You're saying what you think you have to say. If you were sorry, you wouldn't have done it in the first place.
Yeah, but this is their ballot. Like, this is their ballot.
Yeah, but no, you don't get that. No,
Right.
your crime was your ballot. That's it. It's done. It's over with. We've ended it. We don't want to hear what you have to say.
Your ballot was taken from you when you decided to take the lives of all the ballots of the people that could have said something.
There's a
Yes.
lot of people, too.
Right.
There's a lot of people.
There's 13, maybe up to 50 different people that he could be linked to, and yet he's able to go up there and tell people that he apologizes for his acts and his ways. No, forget you. You don't get to do that.
Yes.
That's not okay. No one wants to hear from you.
No.
They just want to see you perish.
Yeah, your apology doesn't make anything better, and I absolutely believe there's way more than 13. Way more.
Oh, there's probably got to be. I only have a flash of him one time when you pointed him out on the TV, and he was like walking from like the bus to the jail or something like that. He's like old, like all bent over and old.
Playing up the oldness, but yeah.
And he's 80?
Thereabouts, yeah.
Okay, so he pretty much lived a good life. He got away with all this stuff. He lived a whole second life, and now, whether you're 80 and you're stuck in hospice or you're stuck in jail, you're going to be taken care of for the rest of your life with pretty much no repercussions. Oh, no, he looks still a little bit younger than... Oh, wow, I'm looking at a picture of him. He looks a little bit like Jigsaw. Oh, wow.
He's
in November this year, he's going to be 85.
No, you know what? I'm sorry.
Or no, 75.
I take what I said back. The person that I remember seeing must have been somebody else that you showed me that murder, because it did not look like this guy. Okay, wow, okay, now I have a whole different face to this whole story.
Yeah, maybe we should have shown you first.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
But he's definitely playing up the feeble old man act.
Okay.
You know,
and you can just see it in his eyes. He's not feeble. You can see that he has a lot of hard work and motive to him. You can see the craziness that's in his eyes too, that he knows what he did and he knows how to get away with it. Yet he's still going to sit here and be like, "Oh, boo is me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. That was when I was young."
Yep, absolutely.
Right. Dang. He still looks like he could throw some punches. Like, he does not look feeble.
Right.
No. He even has 3 daughters. He married to Sharon Marie Huddle in 1973, and she divorced him while he was in jail in 2019.
Yes, that's one of my favorite parts of the story, too, that she was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm out. I'm done."
Right.
She was like, "Are you serious? You did that?" No.
A lot of women will stand by their men in these types of cases and be like, "No, he couldn't have done that." And, you know,
didn't Manson get married and didn't he fall in love and find somebody and
lots
get married
of criminals.
in jail?
There's a whole like genre of women who like to write to criminals and fall for them. And
you know, okay, so I worked at a bike shop. And when I was at the bike shop, I mentioned prisonpenpals.com at one point.
That's a thing.
And I don't know, Adrian, have you ever seen prisonpenpals.com?
No.
So you could be in jail for a lot of years, and I guess if you're on good behavior, you get to a certain point, you can have your friend put you on Prison Pen Pals, and you go on there, and it's just like a dating service, or kind of like we call it a friendship
I believe
service.
These days they can put themselves out there. I believe that as long as you're not like maximum security, you have access to limited internet.
And it's photos of them in the clink, trying to just connect with people. Like, I'm on parole in 2023. These are my things. Sometimes they'll put what they're in there for. Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they'll talk about how they've changed themselves.
One of the podcasts that I listen to actually has a bit where they do a lot of research. And one of the things they do is they go look up the Prison Pen Pal profiles, and they read what these people choose to put out.
Right.
They act like they're not in jail for murder and stuff. And they're like, "I like long walks on the beach," and just like normal dating profiles. It's insane.
Yeah, and this is a true thing. This isn't a bit. This
No,
is a true thing.
this is legit.
You don't have to sign up. It's right there, and it's got their like inmate ad. You know, and obviously all your letters are going to be read beforehand, going in and out.
Right.
But yeah, so Prison Pen Pals. That's definitely a thing. So people, I guess, you're right. They do fall in love in jail because I could go in there and get a... what do I have to do? I have to drive up there and go on the other side of the glass?
Yeah.
And talk to them and stuff? So they do have that, so I guess so.
Yeah, I'm looking at the website right now. It's an old HTML website.
It's like 1999 HTML.
Yeah, I'm assuming so the police can still like monitor them and have it real low key.
Right, on their Etch-a-Sketch.
They're celebrating 22 years of excellence.
Dude, yeah, take that, Christian Mingles.
What is wrong with this country? Like,
that you get that privilege?
I get that at some point these people are going to get out of jail and you need to kind of still assimilate them with society and stuff like that.
Okay, there's a lot to be said about that.
You don't get to have a dating profile.
You don't. No. But yes, there is one there, and we were looking through there, and there are some pretty good-looking people that are stuck in jail. I think we were trying to convince our friend Frank that worked at the bike shop, who was down and out on his luck, that he should just get a prison pen pal girl. Yeah, we'd all help him, right back and forth and stuff. It obviously never happened, but yeah, that is a real sight. Everybody out there listening, I would suggest opening up a private browser window and just click on it just for fun, just to see what these people have to say. Are you gonna fall down the rabbit hole, Adrian, of prison pen pals?
Nope. It said that I have to agree to cookies and them monitoring me. And it also said that I was going to post on, they would be able to find me on a background check. So no, thank you.
I'm back out of that one.
I have no problem on a background check explaining this one. I'm like, look, dude, let me tell you all about prisonpenpals.com. And you gotta check. Get out your smartphones, officer. I gotta show you this. So, okay, but it is a thing. It is a thing.
Oh, it's so creepy, though. So freaking creepy.
Right.
Oh. This guy is absolutely insane. I don't think this guy has any justifications whatsoever to what he did.
No.
No, I mean, no. That would be silly to entertain. Like, obviously, and it's always, and I don't feel bad for the murderer dude at all, but like, it's always something down the line that sets you off. Like in the beginning, he like walked in on some crazy stuff, which sets you off on this line of stuff that like maybe if he just skipped school or didn't see that day.
Maybe if he had a better upbringing, and that's what fascinates me about murders and crimes is the psychology of it, any of this stuff could have happened to any of us. And sometimes it does happen to people and they don't turn into murderers and serial killers and stuff. And
they do other stuff.
What is that distinction? What makes that happen? You know, a lot of serial killers, tortured animals as children, had head injuries. There's markers that we see consistently that turn people into this. But it doesn't always turn them into it. It's insane.
What do you think with this pandemic and how we can feel the pressure, even us that, we're pretty normal per se, level-headed as far as like psychologically.
Right.
Do you think that there's going to be a new wave of repercussions of what's coming out of us being stayed at home, all these months?
You never really know. Like, people are in their own minds nowadays.
Right.
Like, we have a whole bunch of people on the RFS chat that, they're going through hard times. I don't think any of them are going to, all of a sudden snap, but like, there's a lot of people that are stuck at home in their own thoughts. So there may be something. There's a lot of people that are stuck with family members that they truly despise. I could say that if I was stuck at home right now and I was with my stepfather, we would have a lot of problems. We already had a fist fight when I was younger. So if he was still around and in the picture, I'm pretty sure we would still have more fights.
Right.
And we would be very hatred toward each other.
If I were 16 years old, stuck in quarantine with my family, I might go a little bit crazy. I probably wouldn't murder anybody. I would go a little bit crazy.
Not to make light of it, that's a really good movie premise. Kind of like, remember that Cloverfield Lane movie where they were all kind of stuck in the bunker?
Right.
And it's kind of like, there's got to be a movie that comes out where you're stuck in a pandemic, you're at odds with somebody, and you either come to some sort of conclusion or something
murder
like
them.
that, or murder them, one or the other. So yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I can't complain about my stuck in situation since like I don't have to live with like turmoil like that. But yeah, that's got to be a big deal. That's got to be a big deal being stuck indoors right now.
Yeah, how many people are like stuck in abusive family situations or abusive relationships, and
exactly
maybe they could get away, but now they can't. And is somebody gonna murder somebody because of that?
Right.
I mean, if Eastgate or Warner Brothers or DreamWorks is listening, for anyone from them, hit us up. We can probably give you a really good, juicy story and a good horror movie for you guys.
Right?
Yeah, right. I'd say Harvey Weinstein, but he's
don't say that.
He's locked away.
There's another one playing up his fragility in court.
Yeah, look at you. You are just so in tune with all this like murdery craziness.
Yeah, a little bit. I have to downplay it for you because Dan legit thinks I'm gonna murder him one day.
Look, okay, here's my plea, everybody out there. If I disappear one day, you gotta check for icicles or a log on the side of the house. Or how else? How? Okay, since you're so into murder, how do you murder them?
Oh, what was it? Sardine oil?
Yeah, right, Carol Baskin. See, so
I'll just make the cats eat you.
I'm in trouble.
I have look. I'm really squeamish. I don't want to like commit or watch murder and blood, and dude, I don't even want to look at your cut if you cut yourself. Like, I'm not down for that. It's the psychology that fascinates me. Like you're talking about the people being stuck and what makes them snap. Like.
But see, that just tells me you're more Charles Manson-like because you're the one gonna puppet street everybody else down the line.
Is that what?
So are you saying that Crystal is Yoko Ono?
Oh,
allegedly.
I'm the cult leader, not the follower that's gonna do the murders.
Right. And if this tape is being played in court later for the jury, hi everybody. Yes, she did do it.
Oh, I just found another creepy thing that upon this case is I found Joseph's punishment map, where he literally drew out an entire neighborhood. I'm assuming that it was the one that he killed like 4 people in a nearby community, but like he has things just kind of scribbled around. He has words on here that were like scratched off. There's a whole bunch of houses that have X's through them.
Yes, I believe they found that early on and were trying to link that. That's where it came in with the construction worker. Was this like a construction site, or what was this? And there was a lot of crazy clues along the way where people were like almost on the right track, but not quite.
Freaking insane.
Yes, there's so many layers. If you, Adrian, or anybody listening is interested in learning more, I really, really recommend I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. It was really, really good, really in-depth. This woman legit devoted her life to this. She was raising a small child and had a husband, and at night after her kid would go to bed, she'd go sit in her kid's playroom and get on the computer and just dive deep into this and be on message boards. And I can't remember the name of it, but she got a website out there still too where she, posted her findings and stuff.
Yeah, her story is fascinating in itself because, like, you know who Patton Oswalt is, right?
Of course.
I'm sure you know comedy, right? And just to watch him tell a story about his wife going through all this, and then she dies, and then he's got to deal with that, and then trying to find the killer, and then he's being stalked too. It's really hard to talk about this because I've never talked about anything that's like not super PG like ever, like in public.
Right.
But it's I don't know. It's fascinating, an okay word of just trying to see how many facets there are to this one story.
Yeah, there's so many layers to
back
it.
in like the 60s or 50s when this guy was born.
Yes.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, and his screwed up childhood that turned into this.
He's just a comedian, and
right.
now
and here he is all
right.
thrown into, he's I don't know if he's hosting or narrating the documentary that's now on HBO because this is what his wife got into, and now he's thrust into this world, and he's a comedian. Like, I'm sure this isn't what he envisioned.
I don't know if you see what I just sent on the Skype, but I just sent you guys the trailer that they're coming out with. I guess they're going to come out with a full-on documentary for it on HBO later this year.
Are they?
Let me look. It's loading right now. I wonder if that's the one you started watching yesterday.
I know that one just came out. It's a 6-part series.
It is,
and it's called I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
It's loading, but my poor netbook's also recorded this podcast. Yes, I'll Be Gone in the Dark. That's it.
Yeah, that's actually on HBO now.
Like HBO now, right now.
HBO
now
Go
is it HBO
Max,
Go? Yeah, so on
whatever.
the HBO website, it is available, and that's what Crystal was watching. She had no idea what the topic was today.
Yeah, I had no idea.
This is what she was
This
watching
is what I'm
last
into.
night.
Like,
Yeah.
I like watching
to
this.
the point where she found out our son Blake, had HBO Go. And you begged him for, you're like, give me your login name and password. I gotta watch this. I'm like, what are you talking about?
He signed up for the trial to watch a show, and I'm like, hurry! When does your trial end? I need to get through this 6-part series.
Oh, definitely get the HBO Go. I actually have it myself, and there's so much different content on there that I absolutely love watching. I'm going to be adding this to my list as soon as we finish up this podcast, because even Ellie likes to go into crimes like this, because this is...
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
I'm surprised that Dan was as engaged as he has been for this, because my thing is, he calls it, are you putting on murder? Like, that's just his general term for anything I watch that's a crime documentary or anything. I'm watching murder. And that's usually something I'll put on, like, around 10 or 11 when Dan starts to kind of doze off on the couch. I try to not subject him to it too much, because he gives me a hard time, and he's not really into it, and he thinks I'm going to kill him one day. But as you sit here and talk about it, you realize how fascinating it is from a psychological standpoint.
It is to a degree, and I also have no choice because we have a really big TV on the wall, and it's just blasting through our house. It is. It's a lot of it's the same, and
a lot of it's formulaic. When you watch like the Investigation Discovery Network, like it's very formulaic.
Good. Some of the shows are great. That Cold Case one where they dig up cases from like 40 years ago and they arrest like really, really old people.
Cold Justice.
Yes, that's interesting.
A good one.
When you watch other ones that just describe people getting bludgeoned and it shows real photos, no heads up at all. Hey guys out there, dude. Hey, how about a heads up for the bros out there that are like, I'm trying to eat a hot dog and there's 3 fingers missing off this dude's arm.
Sometimes they don't really blur it. Like, I'm a little desensitized, but I still really don't want to see the dead bodies.
So it's interesting. Adrian, what's your depth of murder love?
I grew up with it. My mother loves criminal investigation stuff. She watched a lot of Snap, Women's with Knives, 48 hours.
Crystal
That's what it's
Smiley.
called.
This is all
So-
stuff that I love.
I've grown up with it, and I mean, this is why I started the podcast. Is I absolutely love murder stories. I love seeing I don't like seeing, the deaths of it, like you said, Dan, but I enjoy the sociology path of it. What was going on in these people's minds as they were committing these things? What were they doing? What were they thinking? It's absolutely insane on how far the human mind can go and how insane people can get just based off of certain events that happen in their life.
Absolutely. My family was never into it at all. Like, not even a little bit. My mom doesn't even watch scary movies. Like, nothing like that.
She literally has a Hallmark channel on every time.
Yeah, my mom's a Hallmark Channel mom. Completely does not want to know anything about any murders. Me, from a very young age, I've been into it. I remember in 10th grade history class, we had to write a 10-page report on something historical. I read the book Helter Skelter and did my report on Charles Manson, because that's what fascinated me, and that passed for history. I've always been super into it. Like, I liked it before it was cool, but I love this resurgence. I love that, like, murder podcasts became a thing. My Favorite Murder really, I feel like, kind of turned that corner with the murder podcast, where they kind of did that murder comedy format, which is kind of what we did here, making the jokes and stuff, and it really kind of caught on, and I kind of love it because there's more of it now.
I remember from a young age, I watched the serial killers, the real life of Hannibal Lecter.
Right.
And it was supposed to be based off of Jeffrey Dahmer. I was born after he had passed. I was born in January, so they were working on the movie up to it. And I remember very vividly watching that movie and just being like, someone can do that?
Right.
Someone actually has the mental capability of taking a person, chopping them into bits, and putting them in an acid bath, and then also cooking the body and eating it.
Yes. Yeah, that's
It blew my mind.
fascinating from the standpoint of, wow, people are capable of that. Like, I went to college and got a degree in psychology because that fascinated me so much, and I wanted to know, like, how do these brains work and what causes people to do these things? Two siblings can be exposed to the same crappy childhood. One becomes a murderer, one becomes, a cop or an investigator or a doctor. Who knows?
What happened to Hannibal Lecter?
It was a movie.
Was he guilty?
That
was Jeffrey Dahmer.
Are we talking about Jeffrey Dahmer or Hannibal Lecter?
No, Hannibal
That's two
Lecter, like
different
from the
things.
movies. What happened to that guy?
He was in jail, and it was a script.
Is he dead?
I don't know. I haven't watched those movies in forever.
No, what about the real life guy? Like, what about the real Hannibal Lecter?
Hannibal Lecter's not a real person.
Oh, no?
Hannibal Lecter is a fictional character based off of Jeffrey Dahmer, and Jeffrey Dahmer is dead.
He didn't kill people?
There was no Hannibal Lecter.
So
it's
no-
like a Scooby-Doo.
Yeah. I think he's based on an amalgamation of different killers.
Okay. So
Because I think there's a little bit of Ed Gein in there, too, and a few other...
So nobody in real life was putting lotions in baskets. That was just all script.
That was for the movie. I mean,
okay.
Ed Gein...
I thought he was...
Wait, Ed Gein actually made skin suits. He killed people and, like, took their skin off and made suits out of it.
Whoa, why aren't we talking about that guy? Forget plate,
That may be another...
forget
podcast
plate
for us to do.
stacking. I am in. Okay.
Yeah, so they took bits and pieces from real serial killers to make the Hannibal Lecter movie, like the worst parts of it, to make the most horrifying serial killer.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
it
right.
was Jeffrey Dahmer, Ed Gein, Ted Bundy, and John Wayne Gacy.
Right.
They took a mixture of all four of them. Oh, sorry, 5. Albert Fish as well.
Yes.
And put it into one fictional character to kind of put all these people together.
Gacy was the clown guy, right?
Yes.
So I got dragged to this murder museum in Hollywood one time.
Do you know about the murder museum, Adrian?
Yes. When I went and proposed to my fiance out in October, we were walking around Hollywood and we found a couple of different wax museums, and we found the murder museum, and I went up to it to go and like find out how much it was going to be because I really wanted to go into it, and they were like, yeah, it's $65 a person. So I was just like, oh, okay.
I think we got a Groupon.
I don't think we paid that
Did
much.
you
I
get
think
a
we paid
Groupon?
like $30 a piece or
Right.
something. But
So-
yeah, we went for it. I think Dan was a little traumatized.
A little bit. It was really cool. Some of it was really cool, and I'll tell you if we have time. What I really liked is in the like entryway, there was a legitimately live 2-headed turtle.
It has nothing to do with
It
murder
had
at
nothing
all.
to do with it, right? But in there, it was interesting to see the clown dudes. Like, they actually had his like drawings.
Yeah,
and they had
Gacy's actual
they had
artwork was in there.
They had his real shoe, and then the rest of the place smelled like formaldehyde. Or what I would.
Some of it was disturbing. I had to skip the room with a bunch of taxidermied like cats and animals and stuff. That's not. Look, I can watch all the murder of people all day long. I don't want to see animals get killed. Don't want to know anything about dead animals at all.
I saw Manson's guitar. It was
Yes.
it was in really good shape. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, and I think that there was probably a poacher outside that was trying to swindle people of money because in Hollywood it's $17 for
I think
admission.
that we paid.
That sounds about right. Yeah, because that would have been like
We didn't pay
35 for
much.
the two of us.
Right. You probably look like you're from Colorado. Does your fiance? Does she like the murder stuff?
She likes it, but not as far as I do.
Okay. Right.
Like, she enjoys watching shows like that. We don't enjoy the whole the dead animal things. Like, we watched that docuseries on Netflix, Don't Fuck with Cats.
Couldn't
Which
do
sucks
it.
because
And,
I was so excited there was a cat documentary. I'm like, what is this? And you're like, change it.
Yep.
change
Don't
it.
know. I knew what that was from reading about it on the internet and won't even watch a trailer or
See,
anything. I don't want any
still
part of
don't
that.
know about it.
Don't.
And I don't think I'm allowed to know about
No,
it.
no, you don't want
Do
to know.
not watch it.
No.
Coming from someone that had to watch the whole thing because we ended up getting invested into it, we had to turn it off like 5 times because they actually showed footage of it because the person that was doing this was actually putting out things on social media about it, and it was absolutely horrifying to see. I'm an animal lover. I'm deathly allergic to cats,
Oh,
but I'm never going to hurt a cat.
yeah.
You know, if I have to shoo away a cat with my shoe and like not kick them, but nudge them away with my foot, then that's the farthest extent that would happen.
That's as
I won't
violent
even
as you
try
get.
killing a rabid animal.
Right.
Yeah, we skipped that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that story and I remember hearing about it when it happened. Like, I read a lot of stuff. Reading is easier for me than visuals. I can't get the visuals out of my head. So to read the story was a little bit easier. And then to see that they made a documentary just horrified me, and
But you're always reading weird mystery murder stuff. You're always reading Jack the Ripper. Oh, was Jack the Ripper real? What are you going to tell me he's fake too?
No.
He was real?
He was real.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of what I
even
read
in their,
is true crime stuff and true, like, forensic stuff. I'm fascinated with that stuff.
I can like look at some scenes and some things, but like if you're gonna show like full on the dead body, the dismemberments, or how they were doing,
That's a
like
little
even
much.
reenactments kind of make me oozy or queasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little much.
The reenactments are always just cheesy to me, but yeah, the dead bodies is not something I want to see. I could never, like, be a coroner or, like, work in a morgue. That's horrifying.
Like, have you ever seen the show, I think it was Crime Investigation 360?
I'm sure that I have. What would make me recognize that? Here's the problem. I've seen so many everythings that I can't distinguish one from the other most of the time.
Sometimes I'll
It
be
was-
like, you already watched that episode.
It was on A&E, and what was it, 360 Crime Investigations? No. So it was on A&E, came after 48 Hours. I think they aired 2013. My mom and I were watching it together because it was just one of those things we did. We'd always watch the crazy, creepy stuff, and they ended up reenacting like a guy getting shot straight through the head and then dismembered. And they were like showing the guy like chopping it with the person with the axe. They pan over like to the window, and you can just see in the shadow like someone using an axe and blood spraying everywhere. And I was like, okay, I'm getting up, I'm done.
See,
I can't.
I'm a little different when it comes to that. That stuff doesn't bother me because growing up, my dad worked for the movie studios. So we had like movie props and stuff. So it never affected me. Like, my mom's terrified of scary movies. Me, I look at that and I'm like, oh, they use this and this, and you can see how that's fake because of this. Like, it's too fake to me. Even when it looks real, I'm just too stuck on the fact that I know how they did that.
Even though you jump scare at every.
Oh, jump scares will get me every time.
Oh my
every
gosh.
time. But that's different. I'm not scared. I'm like surprised.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't even personally like jump scares. Jump scares are just kind of they anger me. I'm just like, why would you do that?
It pisses me
Why?
off because like that it's a cheap scare. Like, I want the suspense scare. I don't want the jump scare where like, oh great, you like had something hop out from behind a door. that's easy. Anybody could do that.
I have questions. I'm taking over. I have questions for both of you, since both of you are into this murder stuff. Do either one of you either A, own any murder memorabilia, or B, would like to ever own any kind of memorabilia like what we saw in that museum?
I don't own anything.
That quietness means that it's not off the table.
I had to think about, like, would I want to own something?
Would you want that
because
guitar? Would you want his clown shoe? Or that photo? One of those photos was really rad looking.
I'm aware that this stuff is highly sought after. I don't think I would be interested. I don't want Gacy paintings on my wall. It's interesting to me to see it. I was interested to go to the museum and look at it in person. I don't think that I want... To me, that's bad juju. Like, to have that stuff in your house.
That's one way of looking at it. What about you, Adrian?
I'm the same way. I would pay to go and see something that's in a museum, but I'm a firm believer in ghosts, so I would feel like the aura or whatever is kind of tampered onto whatever comes with it.
Yeah, you're bringing that bad energy into your house? No, I'm good. I'll stick to my, like, books about murder and crime and forensics.
Like, if I found Jeffrey Dahmer's bracelet somewhere, or even something closer to home, if I found, like, a casing or one of James Holmes' like written poetries, I wouldn't keep it in my house.
Right.
You know, I'd submit it to a museum. I would take credit for it, but I would not keep it anywhere near me or my household.
Yeah, I agree.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
Because you never know what anything is going to hold. I won't even go into an antique shop, and if I find like a doll or a porcelain doll that I find interesting, I'm not going to take it home with me.
No Annabelles, please. Please, no Annabelles.
No, thank you.
Yep, I know what you mean. Okay. All right. Fair. Was that all about the Golden State Killer? I totally derailed this into like other murder talk.
I mean, we are talking about murder. This was all about murder, so I mean, ask your questions away.
I have one more for both of you. If you two went out, don't worry about the logistics, just worry about the final outcome of what I'm going to say. If you guys died of murder, would it be a proud death.
You know, there's a meme that's like, if I get murdered, at least I died doing what I love. Like, and I find the humor in that.
Is that something that you get to be that?
I don't want to be murdered. Let me just put that out there. I don't want to be murdered. But if I do, can you make a good episode and use a good picture?
It was a good ride.
And don't go telling people that everybody loved me and I lit up a room, because that was not true.
Oh, no, I'll tell them the real truth about you. But I'll be sitting in a chair where the back of me is not lit, and I'm sitting there just fragile in a chair.
Right.
And I'll look at the camera at the end, and I would have said, she wouldn't have it any other way. And then it'd be like, yeah, like CSI. I'd take off my glasses, and then it would just,
I mean, I wouldn't
want
to be a part of it.
Yeah, what about you, Adrian?
I've been victim in a massacre, and I don't even want to be a part of that.
Right.
The victim files.
Right, which I didn't know till now, and we're gonna have to talk about this when this podcast ends.
Right.
But I do have questions about that, because I don't think I was aware of that until you brought it up.
I don't try to bring it up in topics.
That's fair.
I oftentimes go past that place, and like today I had to go to Kaiser Permanente and pick up some pills for my father-in-law, and I don't even like being over there. So like, even if I was a murderer, make my docuseries, don't make a movie, make a docuseries, do a podcast. Because it will probably be elaborate, but I'm not a murderer. I don't want to be murdered. I'm never going to murder.
Yeah, I'd rather be Netflix than theaters, for sure.
There's more money.
Right.
You're not going to have to put me on Disney Plus exclusive access for $30.
Oh my gosh, right? I still haven't seen that movie pulled yet, but it's coming.
But I think this is a good wrapping up point.
Okay.
I think we've been going almost 2 hours on this podcast, so
yeah, close.
I appreciate everyone for listening to the podcast. Go find Dan at RFSDan and join us every Saturday for Dan Takes the Game Show. It's a very fun game show.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And find us on all social medias, Campfire Thoughts. If you want to join the conversation, email us at campfirethoughtspodcast@gmail.com. And we will find you on another creepy murderous podcast.
Yes.
Thank you for listening.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for having us. That was fun.
Yes.
All right, what's your question now?
I didn't want to ask too much because